Hey guys, Wolfie here, and welcome back to the channel. As always, the usual disclaimer: any opinion here is mine and mine alone. Now, everybody who knows me for some time will probably be asking, Wolfie, you have not done anything for the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia since 2021. What are you doing? What are you thinking? And this is answering your question. This is one topic I've been dreading to make. And to be more precise, this is going to be part one of two videos. Meaning that part one here is a shorter version of part two. And part two, for those of you who remember the Bumblebee video, in the format that it was done, part two will be in that same exact format as the Bumblebee video. So that's because it's like for part two, I just want to make sure I do additional research, meaning like looking into like trends, financial figures, etc. Now, with this here on Reddit, and I'm going to pull up a surprising post that proves this correct. It says here, DFFOO to end service on the 29th of February 2024. So, people see this on Reddit, it's like, oh, that's all he said, she said. Well, as much as I would like to say, as he said, she said, it is actually factual and correct. Meaning that the end of service is coming for the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, both global and JP. And this is the announcement I've seen on the global DFFOO page via their Twitter X page. It says as follows: to our loyal players, it is with deep regret that we inform you that the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia will end service on the 29th of February of 2024 UTC. Friendly reminder, that is close to the United Kingdom. We would like to thank you for your many years of support and hope you can enjoy playing for a little while longer. Now, for those of you who are wondering, this is the scheduled last batch of events ever for the global side of the game. Probably going to be seeing something similar for JP. Now, with that bit out of the way, what do I think about this announcement? Now, I'm going to get into much more detail, with some of my opinions here in part two. I just want to do, the quicker version of this video, because that way, I get to have my say on the matter, and being a former global-only player, I know I could talk about this. And again, I have not been playing at all since 2021. And since I left, I've had zero desire to return, believe it or not. I mean, I don't really interact with the community at all in the sense of the game itself. But here we go. Regarding DFFOO's end of service coming the end of February of 2024, this is one of those things I've been dreading to make for videos now, and it saddens me to say this has been coming for at least a year. Because if you look at the quantity of content gradually declining on JP's end, that's a bit of a thing known as the writing was on the wall. And the fact that JP's was gradually declining the amount of content, and by amount, quantity, I had a feeling it was coming for some time, for at least a year, maybe a little more so. And the fact that you have a couple of other mobile gacha games, notably Mobius, Final Fantasy, and Final Fantasy Record Keeper. Those two were both of them in recent times have also reached end of service. It's one has to question Square Enix's decision making. If you look at the other mobile gacha game where it's tied to Square Enix, but not like at the levels of DFFOO, Record Keeper, and Mobius, it's like they're still around. And the reason why one has to question Square Enix's decision making, because you have to think about what Final Fantasy Brave Exvius has gotten right, and why Final Fantasy Record Keeper, Mobius, Final Fantasy, and DFFOO are not learning from that. Lack of promotion, lack of revenue, the generosity being too much to handle, things like that. And to be fair for Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, because for Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, I'm also a former player of the global version of that game. FFBE did get some stuff right by having their own YouTube channel for that game and their spin-off War of the Visions. Now, another thing FFB got right was the type of resources to do your pulls, meaning that you didn't have to rely on one type of ticket. You didn't have to rely on the Lapis, which is another resource that's used in FFBE. They have plenty of types of resources. That's something that Record Keeper should have had in mind. That's something that DFFOO should have had in mind. I mean, and then the one thing that I think really killed DFFOO was like lack of social media outside of Facebook and Twitter X. And how people tend to be like not really trusting like both of those platforms because of their own reasoning. And like I said, the writing's been on the wall for at least a year, maybe more so. And I've noticed the gradual declining of the amount of content on JP's end. I think I started to notice that before I left the global side of the game. And for people to not have picked it up back then, it's like, I honestly don't know what to say to that. And people were on Reddit. I'm not going to go into that comment section on Reddit about DFFOO's end of service. Some people were talking pretty badly about FFBE. And it's like, FFBE got a few things right to have a mobile gacha game to last a decent amount of time beyond the typical shelf life for a mobile gacha game. So there's something that if Square Enix were to do another one besides, I know they have a mobile gacha game tied to Final Fantasy VII. And let's see, I'm trying to think here for a second. It's like, I think Square Enix really does need to like take a step back from mobile gacha games and really figure out how to make something last more than 5 to 6 years. Because a time frame of between 4 to 6 years is a typical shelf life for a mobile gacha game. And somebody wants to say hi. That is my fur nephew, Sandy the Tabby. You want to say hi, buddy? You want to say hi? That's as good as I could get for the cat to say hi to everybody. I'm just his auntie. But anyway, I do feel that the writing has been on the wall for this game for some time. And I think that some of the comments I've noticed on Final Fantasy Brave Exvius on Reddit, it's like, it's not good. I'm not going to reveal it, out of respect for the users there. And another factor, I do think that let me grab the time here. Okay, good. This is kind of like where I want this video to go lengthwise. So thing is, I remember it was right around when I started playing DFFOO Global. Is that I remember Final Fantasy Brave Exvius also was promoting DFFOO on their Facebook page, and a lot of negative responses were like made on that particular post. So it's like a combination of quite a few things. You know, one of them being like a lack of promotion, along with lack of social media outside of Facebook and Twitter X. Some varying things tied to revenue. It's just that the writing's been on the wall because it's like a lot of negativity about DFFOO. It's like it was really bad. And the thing is with Facebook, it's just like it's just really sad for the negativity on DFFOO to come from Final Fantasy Brave Exvius doing their part to try to promote it. And I think around the time I saw that post on the FFBE Facebook page, it's like, I remember I was playing both games at the same time. And for now, it's just like, for FFBE still being strong, while DFFOO is approaching end of service, it's like, what is Square Enix going to do next? And more importantly, what could Square Enix learn from their growing number of mobile gadget games reaching end of service? Some of it really quickly, some of it around their typical lifespan. And why has Brave Exvius, why have they been able to surpass that lifespan? It's something that honestly baffles me, if I had to be completely honest with you. But at the same time, someone who used to play Brave Exvius, someone who used to play DFFOO, and someone who also used to play Final Fantasy Record Keeper, it's just that Square Enix is doing a string of questionable decision making. And in part 2, which is going to be a longer version of this video, I'm going to be doing a more in-depth look at like possible factors. And I do feel that one of those factors is the financial side of things. Because one of the comments on Reddit was mentioning that the global side of DFFOO was carrying JP. And you have one version carrying the other, and it was a game being deemed a bit on a game being deemed one of the most generous with the resources. It's like, it doesn't give people the ability. It's like, I'm trying to say, I want to reword that part. So for a game to be as generous as DFFOO was, it tells people, you know, hey, we shouldn't spend our money on a mobile gadget game. And mobile gadget games need money to survive. And I remember one of the reports I was looking into on this game, I was like, let's say it was close to the time I left the game, maybe like a bit beforehand. It's like you have one platform, and we're talking by platforms, we're talking Android versus iPhones. The Android people were spending more money on the game, despite more iPhone users having the game itself. And you also have to look into varying laws. Like, I know China is like, you have to be, if you're under a certain age, it's like you can only spend a certain number of money, like per a certain period of time. I think the same thing goes in Japan. And then you also have the issue with Belgium, meaning that, and by that, the decision in Belgium to outlaw things that, you know, that involve the probability of getting something, which includes DFFOO, you know, having reached their end of service in Belgium due to that law. Like I said, all this stuff I'm mentioning right now is going to be in part 2 in more detail, because it's like those aspects of financial factors have played a role in DFFOO reaching their end of service. I'm going to be ending this video right here, right now, because it's like I gotta get ready for work. But to recap the whole aspect of DFFOO reaching end of service the end of February 2024 on both JP and Global, the writing has been on the wall for some time. There are people who have been trash talking Brave Exvius for whatever they've been doing, despite Brave Exvius getting it right in some aspects. And it's just like, for being a former Brave Exvius player, a former DFFOO player, a former Final Fantasy record keeper player, all of it global only, it's like Square Enix needs to revisit their decision making, because the writing's been on the wall for some time, and for Square Enix to have questionable decision making for the last 5 years, it's like, what will it take for them to have like a mobile gacha game to go beyond the typical lifespan of one that's not Final Fantasy Brave Exvius? And until we get some answers to that question, it's just like, who really knows? And it's just so heartbreaking overall. But in all honesty, and I'm going to end it with this, the writing was on the wall for some time, and that's all I have. With Wolvie here signing off, I will catch you all on the flip side.